Hello again. So the next bit we're going to look at is the responsibility for preventative measures. So this is on page 230 and 231 of your BTEC Sport book. So this should be a doddle because the assignment is specifically asking for you to reference rugby, and rugby has a massive union that is looking out for people and their health and well-being. So I'm just going to literally take you through the website, so the RFU website. So I haven't gone through this yet, so I've had a quick little look around, but it's probably going to be a bit doddery, but essentially you should be looking around on this website to see what action has the RFU taken in order to help coaches and individuals look after their own health. So if we come up here and we look nice and simply at participation, so if we click on this badger and then we come into here, so the first bit I reckon we should have a little look at is the coaching. So on page 230 is the role of the coach. So the coach, so reading from the book, the coach has a huge role to play in preventing injuries. A coach should have up-to-date qualifications and knowledge of the sport and their athletes. So if we look at qualifications, we can already look at simple things like booking a course, and on here we can go for these things. So level 3 coaching award, level 4 coaching award. So I believe Mr. Malone has this one, Mr. Oakes is going for it. But equally, we can look at simpler things, so coach resources. So all the way down to some e-learning modules, so rugby coaching award, day 1, day 2. So this is all about becoming your level 1 rugby coach and your level 2 rugby coach. So the minimum standard for Langley is to be a level 2 rugby coach. So on these courses, they will be teaching the rules of the game. It will teach safeguarding of children, safeguarding of adults as well. It will teach how to coach the most basic of techniques in order to build upon to become more advanced and more skillful. And as you get up the levels, it will start talking about tactics and what it takes to perform. So the beginning courses are going to be about safety, participation and inclusion, and then later on they're going to be about how do we kick ass, basically. So if we look in here, it also goes into this thing called Activate. So Activate is a program for it's basically the RFU's blanket warm-up that they recommend, which has a load of exercises and methods for warming up effectively. So this just outlines that coaches have a huge role, that's what the book says, and the RFU has taken responsibility for that by providing the coach with ample support in which to get better. So if we go here, what we're going to see, association, because basically they start all the way from what do we need to do when you're a beginner coach, because not everybody wants to go and be a head coach. People quite simply want to be able to, as a lot of like Walsham's coaches are all dads who wanted to push their kids a little bit further, so in which case they've done things probably like Rugby Ready. I've done Rugby Ready. It is literally the most basic of thing about what do we need to consider. So it tells you about the state the clubhouse has to be in, the state that the pitch has to be in order for you to manage the most basic of rugby sessions. So you'll find these all somewhere within here. So that's how we manage the coach. Next one, so I'm going to try stay on here. So the next one is running your club. So again, it's the RFU taking responsibility. So referring to the RFU's website within your document that you produce would be a really good idea. Don't just refer to it though, put it in context. So if we go, the RFU has given ample resources in order to manage some of the intrinsic and extrinsic causes of injuries. For example, there is an S&C course that's available through World Rugby and also the RFU. This is an online course that increases the knowledge of coaches within the realm of S&C. So they're recognising that there's a need, providing a resource, and therefore that's how you would be able to get that within your document, hopefully. So running the club, the reason I was hoping this one would be interesting would be, there we go, so facilities. Hopefully this would be something by which somebody like Mr. Yaram, if you know Mr. Yaram, he's the groundskeeper. So he would be able to, there we go, facilities down here. So what's the type of governance over the equipment and environment? So this is our second responsibility for preventative measures. So we have to make sure that our equipment and environment, so whilst the coach does have a really important role in this, so for example, he has to make sure that changing rooms are available for us. Effectively, it's going to be estates and our groundskeepers that are keeping those clean. It's making sure the electricity is okay, so keeping that safe, making sure you're not going to slip over and fall over in them, because that would be a cause of an injury. I know it's daft, but for example, one of the most common injuries in skiing is falling over in the car park in your ski boots and breaking your elbow. So therefore, what do? Don't put your boots on in the car park. So all this simple stuff, it never used to be simple. Back in the day, before all this type of methodology of identifying an injury and trying to get rid of them, we didn't have it. So we live in an age where we've probably got too much hypervigilance, so we look into things a bit too much. But we do have to remember is that our facilities at school, as rundown as you may think they are so much above and beyond what other schools have. So they're looked after in order to prevent us and you from getting injured. So the equipment and environment is there. For performer participation, we would also, let's have a look at the playing. So let's just go to playing, click on it. So getting involved. So look, there's a whole section on play. No, come back for me. So playing, getting involved, ways to play, but we have, so this is quite interesting. So Virgin Active is a gym. So we have training programs available for us. So this would come under the appropriate training and performer participation. So remember, performer preparation. So your warm-up doesn't start 10 minutes before the game. Your warm-up starts in pre-season, and you express what you've been training at in the gym and on the field in your warm-up. So we need to remember that we need to keep fit throughout the whole year. So we've got a program tracker. So this is management of your load, which if we look in the book on 228, this will manage the extrinsic risk factor of training errors, because training errors come through messing up load. So we could include this as how could we prevent injuries? Download the program tracker. Okay. Then we've got a second one. So let's have a look at this. What it looks like at once. I've never done this. Hopefully it's going to be mind-blowing. My job will be so much easier. So it's 36 pages. I hope it's decent. Blank at the moment. So fit for rugby, and all of a sudden, I'm hoping this is effectively, yep. So here's some planning, some managing your loads. So the aim of the block is to generate strength and endurance. So this is directly relatable to the intrinsic risk factors found on page 227. muscular factors. I would imagine flexibility is going to be in there somewhere. So let's see what they get you to do. Muscular factors, which we also know that muscular strength is expressed well, expresses flexibility well. Body push, pull. So this could directly link to that intrinsic factors. It could also link to your postural deficits and making you stronger. It could relate to your extrinsic factor of managing incorrect technique, because the more that you know how to move, the better you're going to be able to get in close for a tackle, getting low, putting your head on the right side, because you're more aware of your body. So this is directly relatable, and it's come from the RFU down through the physio to your hands in your player handbooks by directly relating it. Now, we could go develop this individually for your player handbook, but you don't need to. You should just literally have a link. So North Walsham, they do actually have a very good player handbook, but that's because Mr. Oakes is very diligent. But any club now could go, look, we don't have this specialist knowledge, but the RFU has presented this. It's really, really handy. Why don't we start on this and see if this makes us any fitter? Okay, it's quite nicely presented. Players are more likely to look at stuff that's nicely presented. Happy days. Okay, so the training program, head case. So as we explained in the other video, your concussion needs to be appropriately managed. It's one of the most common, and it has a high severity, that risk that it carries with it. So therefore, this is coming into the responsibility of the RFU, me as a physio, your coach, to give you some very, very easy to access information so that you can recover from concussions well, but also in order for you to be able to identify them. So in your player handbook, you might have a little bit down on we need you to look at this in some way, however you want to put it in, and then you go, we would manage this by good identification. So that might come into coaching and social factors. I would stick this one into. So by being aware of what concussion is, what it looks like, the severity of it, how we all need to take it seriously, how we need to take its recovery seriously, to prevent further concussions happening. This is a management of an extrinsic risk factor directly related to this, and we are winning. This is going to be really easy for you to do. So what else is in there? Player welfare. So injury reporting. So this is actually the responsibility of every rugby club. They should be sending this in so that we have a better identification of what the injuries are. Just because rugby clubs don't do it doesn't mean that you can't mention it. So in which case you can say this is to do with your principles of injury prevention, the 4-step model about establishing the extent of a problem more than anything. But within those injury report forms, it probably will go on about, let's have a look, 21. So this is some data already. So are we saying it's something to do with safety hazards? So what surface are you on? Was it in game or in training? So is it something to do with, is it training error, or was it incorrect technique during the day? Yep, nature of suspected injury. So this literally would be what made it come about. Was it because he's trained improperly, or did it come on suddenly? Was it because of poor technique or something? So yeah, there we go. That is an example of how you can manage extrinsic risk factors by reporting them and finding some data out. Participation, we come back down. So we could then come into refereeing. So refereeing would come into coaching and social factors, about incorrect technique, because your referees, as you know in rugby, or for you football boys, they do in rugby, give quite detailed information about what they're expecting to see at things like the scrum, at things like the tackle. They will constantly be telling the captain about your players are going in like too high, we'll let you off, or they're coming in at the side, it's inappropriate. They will keep a dialogue. So the good referees will do that appropriately. Poor referees will just become an annoyance. But they do have a responsibility. Yeah, so that's management of extrinsic factors again. Even your volunteers could be management of extrinsic factors, because they might be having something to do with the environment that you're playing in, so environmental factors or safety hazards. So you might have like volunteers walking the pitch to make sure that no one went out on the pitch with a pint glass after the last game and left it there. It happens. So when we do the community camps, I'll often do a little walk of the pitch. When we were in South Africa and we were playing one of the games, I walked the pitch with Mr. Knight because there were massive stones on the pitch. We were just a bit surprised, but they were happy having them, so we just picked them all off and chucked them off the pitch. But again, this is management of those extrinsic risk factors. Okay, so this is going to be a massive resource for you in terms of the section about responsibility for preventative measures. Hopefully it is clear for you how you can do that. Yeah, so that's it. I'd recommend probably having a crack at starting your assignment as soon as possible, even if you get it wrong. We've told it to you before about having a little framework by which you then add bits in. Start that now, don't leave it to the last minute. It's your last piece of work, so do it for your prize, to be honest. Obviously getting a good grade, but hopefully we've given you enough information just to make a good start. Please remember, emails are effective. I'm really happy for you to send me an email. I'll give you an email back with some information. Team Builder and Huddle don't seem to be working because none of you got back to me. It's really hard to chase you up, but just know that we're trying to look out for you. We're trying to make sure that you've got the best opportunity to get a decent piece of work in. I am at home with my 3-year-old and my 1-year-old. I would love the distraction. So if you send me an email, it gives me an excuse to talk to my wife and go, I've got some work to do. So you send me an email with some decent questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. So might not be able to catch up tomorrow or the day after. We'll see what happens. But what I plan to do is try and upload these onto a YouTube channel that I'm going to create now. And then I will get Mr. Phil to look at them, and then hopefully he will do similar in order for you to be able to know what's expected in the way that you're going to present it. Okay.